Hi, welcome to the Introducing TntMPD 3.0 beta video. And this is actually the second time I recorded it. I talked as fast as I could, and the first video was 30 minutes long because there's 150 new features and enhancements. Now I want to get you up and running quickly, so I'm going to try and get everything I want to say out in 10 minutes because this beta version is going to be released in about 30 minutes. Now I've been testing it for the last 3 weeks, and I've been hardly able to sleep. Literally, I'm so excited about these new features. So I'm going to jump right in and talk about it. I'm going to highlight some of the new features, but I'm also going to tell you a couple of critical things that users need to do that the upgrade process cannot do automatically for them. And these are sweeping new features that are wonderful, but they cannot be done automatically. And so I want to make sure that people are aware of those. Okay, I'm going to start with one thing that's outside of TNT so I can show you, and that is there's some great improvements towards the TntMPD and Outlook features. So let me show you what that means, and then I'll show you in TNT how it works. Okay, so I've got this Outlook, and I've got to contact Fred and Wilma Flintstone that I've synchronized with Outlook. And now you notice there's a little icon here that actually shows on the display that they are an Outlook contact, which is handy. But what's significantly different is that now TNT will send Fred and Wilma as separate contacts to Outlook. They're one couple in TNT, but they're separate contacts in Outlook, so now in my phone, they appear as separate contacts, which is much more helpful. And they have separate, looking on the right here, separate phone numbers, separate mobile numbers, much easier to call. And when I open my contact, I see, first of all, the Fred and Wilma. I see both names, their partnership status, their MPD phase, their pledge amount, their my last appointment and call, just what year that was, who referred them. And then if I scroll down, I could also see the notes, any of the notes that I have typed in the notes field in a unformatted way. So that's Outlook synchronization. Let me go here into TNT and just talk about some of these features real quick. Much of the interface is going to look exactly the same, so there won't be any few apparent changes. Just a couple things here I want to show you. The schedule button has been renamed the calendar button. There's also a map button down here. Google Maps integration has been strengthened so that if I have a current group, let's say all of my partners in a certain area like this group here, I can just click on a map and boom, it's going to show it. Now our sample database is in Monaco and none of the addresses are correct, so you don't see any push pins there. But if this was in Utah, for example, in Salt Lake City, and I had a bunch of contacts there, it would show them all on the addresses there. And it even stores the GPS coordinates for my contacts in their details, which is great for exporting them. Okay, a little change here in the gift input button, and just some new icons, which are nice. Just visual improvements. Also, new Dropbox features. Dropbox automatically, if you're using Dropbox, TNT will recognize any conflicted copies in the folder when you open it and walk you through resolving them, or in some cases resolve them automatically for you. So that eliminates a lot of those conflicted copy issues. Okay, don't have time to go into that any further. So let's look at the contact tabs here and see what's going on. Some new changes here. First of all, if I've got to contact Fred and Wilma Flintstone and I look at the business stuff, now I can have a separate business address for Fred and one for Wilma. So that's, I don't personally have very many of those where I've got the business address for both, but I could if I needed that. And now also the business name that they work for is separate from the mailing address, and that's kind of handy as well. The telephone area, this is where the changes has to take place. This is where a user needs to take action that TNT cannot do it for them. See, historically, if I had two mobile addresses for these partners, I had to use them just in different ways. I would use pager or fax or car phone or something like that. So what I have to do is I have to come in here to Wilma and cut that and then paste it in her mobile address. And then I don't need these tags anymore, which is good because my cell phone wouldn't dial the numbers because of the tags. So I can just eliminate both of their tags, and that cleans that up. But I had to do that manually. And so now I've got home number, Fred's mobile, and Wilma's mobile. And when I send them to Outlook, that's going to send them to separate contacts. Same with email addresses. If I double click on there, now I can put a separate email. I can put wilma.flintstone@toontown.org. And now if I email a newsletter, she's going to get her own copy and he's going to get his own copy with separate greetings instead of combined greetings. So that's a nice improvement there. And there's also a new salutation field to give you a little more flexibility in how you address letters versus mail merge emails, etc. Okay, MPD tab. The most significant change here is in the send newsletter field. Now, people have been asking for this for years, do email newsletter, but really that's not good enough because I've got partners who get both. Okay, and so first of all, I do need to say send newsletter, but in this case, I want them to get both paper and email. Okay, so that covers those bases. But also sometimes I have people who are email only, but if their email address goes bad, then I want to send them the paper one. Because the last thing I want is a major partner who's getting an email newsletter to go a year without getting a newsletter. It's just bad news, not good to do that. So I can do email with a paper backup. And then if I do not have an email address, it's going to show a red symbol and that it's going to send paper instead. And I even have lookups that'll do that. Now, here's again the second user interaction. The first one is they have to manually update the spouse mobile phones. TNT can't do it for them. Now, with the newsletter, again, if I want them to, my email people, I've been doing them in a saved group for the last few years. These aren't my main newsletter recipients. I keep them on paper, but my email newsletter group, I go there, I select the saved group, and I look them up. I can individually walk through them and adjust that field, and it would certainly be worth my time to do that. But I can also do all of them at once by selecting Group Actions, Mass Change a Field. I don't know if you've ever used this field. I've been using it for years. It's a great way to update everybody. It's one thing, like all the people from the same church, for example. So I mass change a field, and the field name is Newsletter Media Preference. And for this group, I'm going to just say Email with Paper Backup, because that's what this audience is to me. I'm not going to do email and paper. That's a different group. Do I want to edit them for all 16 of these people? Yes, I do. And so that does change it. It still doesn't check the box, though, so I have to do it a second time. Now I'm going to mass change the field, and this field is Send Newsletter, just like it's shown there, to True, or Yes. In other words, check the box. Okay, so now there we go. I've got all 16 of those people with the newsletter box checked. And notice it even shows me these red @ symbol icons indicating, hey, those people don't have email addresses. And so instead it's going to go to paper. So that's, again, a nice feature. There's actually 10 different combinations that people can have in terms of valid email addresses. Okay, so that's it for this tab. I'm going to skip tasks and history. I want to come back to that real quick. Family tab, just a little adjustments here. Again, husband and wife, separate areas. Husband and wife birthday separately instead of up at the top. So just a cleanup in that area. Business name here. If there was a business name on their mailing address, that same business name appears here. The user tab, now you can modify the name of the user tab in the tools option, and of course this is something you've always been able to do. You can just double click on these user fields and rename them if you want to. Okay, one other thing I want to show you about contacts before I do tasks and history, and that if I have a contact who is an organization, I'm going to click up the look up everybody. If I've got a contact that's an organization like a church, now I know about you, but my organizations, I almost always have somebody who's getting my newsletter. And that's a contact person. Now I can actually put that contact person right here. So I can say Pastor Frozone. Okay, and so instead of having to put it here in the street address, which is where I used to do it. And so that's nice to be able to just clean that up and improves the mailing address block. Okay, now tasks and history. You know, both of those are the same thing. You've got tasks and history. Just history is a completed task. So I'm just going to look at the history tab. And there's over 50 changes here, and I just can't even possibly cover them all. So I'm just going to go through this as fast as I can with some of the major enhancements. First of all, because this is where people come the most to do their activities, log history. The 5 major types are appointments, call, email, letter, and thank. Those are the most common things that we do. But there's other things that we do that people have kind of been asking for, more or less. And first of all, we've got the newsletter. Well, now you've got newsletter and e-newsletter. Both of those are marked as mass mailings when you do them. And then messaging, so you could put in Facebook, text, or MailChimp things. And I don't pull all of my Facebook ones in here or my text messages that I get, but sometimes somebody tells me something very significant I want to remember, so I'll create an entry and put it in there. And then other, a couple new things. There's a note. Sometimes I just need to make a note, updated their email address, or changed their EFT record, or sent them something like that, whatever, EFT card. So I just make a note. And if my organization sends something like the organization says that this person is deceased, the TNT will actually automatically update if the organization supports that. My organization doesn't, but some do. Unscheduled visit is a new one that I've been doing for years using the description field. If I go to my home church and I see 10 of my partners in the fellowship hour, I can now come and record all 10 of those. Now, they weren't really appointments. I didn't share my ministry. I didn't challenge them in any way with their giving. I just saw them. Sometimes I bump into people at a store. I actually met a partner in the airport once, which was exciting and fun. And so that was an unscheduled visit, and that's what this is. And then there's another new one called a present. when we had our first child, more than 50 of our partners sent a physical gift of some kind, some gift cards, some blankets, everything. Some people bought us stuff off our registry, whatever it was. Well, those aren't financial gifts, and I had to record those as what? Letter, incoming letter? Well, now it's a present. But I also send gifts. Sometimes I send a book or I actually sent chocolate bars one time, and one partner got a melted envelope just glued together with chocolate I got from Africa, so I won't do that again. But it was a present. But the reality is, if I'm sending it, it's also a thank, and so that creates some conflict, because what if your phone call is to thank them, right? Or what if your email is to thank them? Which one do you choose? You used to have to say, well, a thank is a thank no matter how you do it. Well, you don't even have to do that anymore, because I can call them. And now I want to show you this field, and this is really the last thing I have time to do here. And that is, first of all, some big changes here. And this is a screen where people spend a lot of time, so let's look at it real quick. Of course, we've got all of the task types here. Now they're all in a list instead of the pop-up menus. And notice that even then they're color-coded to match the history thing, which is nice. But this save description list is now a autofill dropdown. So if I start typing, it's going to bring in my saved descriptions, and I can still edit the saved descriptions by going to edit list from there. Now in this case, I'm just going to say thanks for the baby gift. Okay, and what I can do here is I can go to the details tab and actually say this phone call was a thank you. And so that way, no matter what I'm doing, appointment, phone call, email, text message, Facebook entry, whatever it is, it's a thank you. Same thing with a partnership challenge. Okay, so this is an appointment, for example. Now, I go to lots of appointments. When I was first joining our staff, I had lots of appointments that were specifically devoted to partnership challenges. But today, a lot of my appointments are not. They're relationship. I just want to spend time with them. But occasionally, I do have one. And so I can choose or unchoose these as partnership challenges. And by the way, appointments by default will go to partnership challenge. Okay. Now, let me show you what the results of this is if I do this. Thank you. Also, one other thing I want to show you real quick. I can select the different users. So if a husband and wife are working together, whatever user is logged in, that's the one that's going to record the call, the thank you, or whatever. But it can also switch who did it. And that's really nice for couples that work together, or even teams that use TntMPD for their team fund development. And then finally on this screen, the special gift appeal has been moved to this screen instead of the other. And by the way, if you do special gift appeals, I recommend putting the year with your appeal name. That way it keeps them all in a nice order. Okay? So when I click that and I click OK, I'm not going to change this phase, but there it is. It's a call, and it was a thank, and it was by Bob. So the history here, when I come here to the history, if I look at all of the history for all of my partners, here's all of my history in this database, 19 different items. The description filter box has been moved. Now there's a global search. And if I start typing thank, for example, it's going to show anything that has the word thank in it. So the ones with the description, but also this one here, call for appointment, doesn't even have thank. It's because it appears in the note itself. Okay, so there was a call there with a thank. And there's also Google Maps. So if I've got tasks, if I've got 10 appointments set up, I can go to the task screen and see all of my tasks and show them on a map, which I don't have an address for them, so it doesn't have anything to show them. But anyway, those are some of the quick new things. Now, again, keep in mind there's a couple things users have got to do themselves that the upgrade process cannot do for them. Number one, you have to go through the spouse's email and phone number, mobile numbers, and update those manually, and use that by looking up all the people who have spouses. Number two, updating newsletter preferences for email newsletter recipients. Admittedly, if you have 5 different newsletters, like a different language newsletter or a Christmas letter to other people, you can't do that. This is for the regular partners who either get email or paper or both. Number three, password security, strong and password encryption. Many organizations are concerned about the security of their ministry data on users' computers, so there's a strong password encryption. It's a critical thing. I recommend that people even write down their password and file it in a filing cabinet or something, because TntMPD, those of us who work on TNT, we cannot recover a database if people forget their password. Okay, and a lot of times people type in a password with TNT and they check the box, all automatically log me in, and then a year later they get a new computer. Of course they don't remember that password. So it's so critical. Your TNT information is so critical to your ministry. Go ahead and write that down and file it somewhere important. Because really we're trying to protect cybersecurity here, and a note card in your filing cabinet is probably not going to be hacked. All right, that's just my opinion. So that's TntMPD 3.0. You as a beta tester, what we rely on you is to give us feedback. Try everything. Give us feedback. Anything that doesn't work right. You can ask questions about, oh, by the way, here's how you do it. In the community tab, go to the groups area. Don't go to the forum because that's for the regular release. Go to the groups. There's the beta tester, and right here on the discussions link, and then you can write your inquiry there and go from there. Thanks so much. I hope you love TntMPD 3.0. I am so excited about these features, and I hope you will be as well. Oh, by the way, there's also some improvements on the Mac side. As you're probably aware, the Mac version is running almost flawlessly now. A lot of the issues have been resolved. Last November, there was a sweeping Mac improvement that's been great for Mac users. The newest version, 3.0, will actually test the user system when it tries to install it. And if the Mac is older than a certain version, it will say TntMPD 3.0 cannot be installed on this operating system. Okay, and that's just a practical reality that the underlying tools cannot run on older Macs. And that would be true of any software. So thanks a lot. Have a great day.